watching for the shadow of the leopard on a limb. But the mood turns cold when the lead finds its mark, and we're tracking the wounded king through the tangled dog. 100 stitches a second can explode from the thorn. The pH and the trackers feel the terror being born. He's the muscle and the malice, the storm in the shade, the deadliest bargain a hunter ever made. Now I see him in the fold, draped across the wood, looking through my soul like no human ever could. Oh, there's a leopard on a limb in a tall mahogany tree. He's a spotted chainsaw waiting, Abby's looking right at me. High wire tension, the power and the grace, the terror of the valley in a holy hidden place.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Round the Fire with King's View Safaris. I'm your host, John McHugh. I just remembered I should actually drop the King's View Safaris part. I realized that I'm not an out for it anymore. So maybe I got a bit of PTSD and I can't quite drop it yet. So eventually I got to just say Round the Fire podcast. But you're here with me and a repeat client or repeat guest rather coming back onto the show, which I'm super excited about. We've got quite a bit to get through. I'm looking forward to hearing some stories. I am just going to say this up front for anybody listening on audio or maybe on YouTube. If you do hear some loud noises, some bangs in the background, I do apologize. My son has just discovered the Transformers. He's going through a Transformer phase. And for some reason, he's got the TV absolutely blaring. And I can just hear Optimus Prime kicking the nuts and bolts out of all the Decepticons. So I don't know if you guys can hear that too, but I've told him to turn it down so many times. But you know what it's like with a 7-year-old and his Transformers. Once they get into it, they absolutely love it. So I do apologize for that beforehand. Okay, let's get into it. I'm welcoming back guest Cody Schwartz. He was back on episode, I think it was 100. He corrected me, so it's great to have him back. I'm really excited for this. We are going to kind of in this episode touch on his hunt in Argentina, which I thought was fascinating. Cody reached back out to me and said, would anybody interested to hear about his trip? And I said, oh yeah, hell man, I definitely would. And I know that what happens with a lot of the guys is that there is a sort of transition from Africa to Argentina. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of differences. I've chatted with quite a few guys that have, and they've had an exceptional trip. So when Cody asked if I wanted to hear about it, I said, for sure. And here he is back on the podcast. So Cody, thanks very much, man, for joining us today. It's good to have you back and to chat with you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I'm honored to be here.
Sure, anytime, man. It's always a pleasure to get you back on. I know that the last time we chatted, you had an exceptional trip. There was elephants, there was eland, there was all kinds happening with your trip there. So before we kind of jump into, your next hunts, especially with Argentina, and I know you've got your next Africa trip coming up really soon, you kind of want to give the listeners a little bit of a recap with your last trip, maybe the taxidermy process, how things are going on there, and then we can kind of lead in from that.
Yeah, so I decided to have my taxidermy done there in South Africa. Trofex Taxidermy is handling it. We're about 7-8 months into it now.
Okay.
So they send, what I like about them is they send pictures to you at every process or every stage of the process until your trophy is finished.
Right.
And anytime during that, you can make changes. So they won't move on until you approve it. And then once you approve it, they'll move on with the process. And so that's kind of where we're at now. We're just kind of ironing some stuff out. I know the mongoose is done. It's finished. So we're just figuring out where we're going to turn heads and stuff like that and different mounts.
That's cool, man. So you guys you're nicely in the process, it sounds like. Just quickly to touch on that, obviously there's always the big debate. Taxidermy in South Africa, taxidermy versus America. You take it, and same for the guys in Europe. And I kind of don't want to get too much into that because that's probably an episode all in itself. But just from your side, was that something that you'd contemplated? And then what eventually was kind of the deciding factor which made you say, you know what, I've seen the guy's stuff, or I've chatted to the outfitter, they've convinced me. What was kind of that point that made you say, I'm going to get it done here in South Africa?
Well, it was kind of twofold. I have taxidermists here in the U.S. that I use. When I went to South Africa, you hear stories about sponsored taxidermists through the outfitter,
Sure.
right? So I don't necessarily want to just take the outfitter's word. I was able to go to the actual taxidermist, took a tour of the facility. I saw trophies in all the stages. It wasn't just like they showed me their showroom and that
Yeah.
was it. I actually went to get on the floor. I got to look at everything, look at how the process was, and then I saw the finished product. And just meeting the owners and stuff like that, I felt confident in getting my stuff done there. I've had 2 separate shipments already done
Mhm.
by them, and I've
Okay.
been pleased. And so I'm just continuing to stay with them.
That's it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Hey, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, and we'll see how fuel costs go and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
I'm sure prices are going to go up whether you do by sea or by air, and
Yeah.
we'll see how the global climate looks. But so far, I've been happy with it.
Yeah, and it's a good point. If I could just touch on what you were talking about earlier, where they didn't just keep you in a nice little showroom, they showed you around everything too. I
Right.
remember it wasn't a taxidermist that I was associated with. I didn't even have clients at the time. I can't remember. I think I went to go and pick up some paperwork from the taxidermy at the time, but I kind of walked into the shop and you could see. I mean, you could see shit lying everywhere. You could see piles of horns and skulls and crusty old capes just tucked away in the corner, and you kind of think, is that somebody's cape just lying there in the corner or not? So I think it's nice that if you
Right.
do get to kind of look behind the curtain and you see the environments in the area where these guys work and it's clean and it's orderly, it kind of really gives you that confidence that your stuff's going to be looked after too. So that's a good little point to bring up for anybody that's planning a trip and actually going to visit the taxidermist. Just keep a little eye out for those types of things.
Right. Yeah. Don't just let them show you the fancy, the nice stuff at the front. I mean,
Yeah.
go look, ask to go look, see how everything's organized, see how they care for your stuff, see how, I mean, you could tell a lot by just how they keep their stuff neat and organized, and it's not all over the shop, or, they actually care about your stuff as much as you do.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be another Christmas for you guys for sure when that crate's arrived. If I remember correctly, I know your elephant initially was non-exportable? Was there any part of it you were allowed to bring back, or did you try and do any sort of a replica? You're just going to have to jog my memory on that.
So the plan is to do a replica,
Okay.
but I'm gonna have that done here in the States.
Oh,
We
nice.
took
Okay.
we took probably 100 photographs of that elephant. So yeah,
Yeah.
the plan is to have it done here in the States just
Okay.
for the replica.
And
The
measurements?
tusks are getting done.
Measure the
Yeah,
ears? Okay.
yeah, and there's some nicks in his ears
Yeah.
from like torn by the brush or whatever, and we even measured those, took pictures of those, and so hopefully we get a pretty good accurate replica out of it.
That's pretty cool. When you get that done, I'd love to see a photo of the replica and obviously the sort of the trophy photo and the
Well,
detailed ones, to see how well the taxidermist did. But that's cool, man. Hopefully the process all works smoothly for you guys and you can start filling that trophy room.
yeah, it's getting there. It's getting full.
Um,
Maybe I have to slow down a little bit.
no, don't ever slow down. Keep going. You can always build more houses.
Yeah, exactly. You can always add on to
That's
it.
right. Yeah, listen, I really want to hear about this Argentina trip. Like I said, I've chatted to a couple of people. One of the guys that I work with, he went to Argentina, had a hell of a time. I know that you can do so many different hunts in Argentina. I think the dove hunting is a massive one there. I think black buck originate from there. So feel free to kind of lead me and the listeners into your Argentina hunt, how it came about, and when and for how long you guys went for.
So it started with I was at the National SCI show, just
Hmm.
walking the floor, and I ran in and started talking to an Argentina outfitter. He handed me a price list. He didn't really push the hunt on me. He just
Sure.
said, "Here, take my pamphlet. If you're interested, let me know." I was like, "Okay, cool." Finished the show. Anyway, I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Let me just give it a try."
Yeah.
The prices seemed reasonable, so I did. I sent him an email. I said, "Hey, I'm interested in the hunt." and we started working from there. I So we decided to do the hunt, and then I reached out to my PH in South Africa, and I said, "Hey, you're going to be down for show season in the States right around the time I want to go on this hunt. Do you want to go?"
Oh,
And he
cool.
said, "Sure." So
Yeah.
we both ended up going, and I took him with me. We left the U.S. We went from Roswell, New Mexico, flew to Dallas. From
Mhm.
Dallas, we went to Miami, and then from Miami, we went to Buenos Aires.
Okay.
Um,
That's quite a few
And then
connecting flights, isn't it?
yeah, quite a few. There is a direct flight out of Dallas, but it's hit or miss if you can get it or not.
Right. Okay.
And with the lines and everything that were going on, I went in March of this year. So with all that stuff going on, we just booked what we could.
Sure.
We didn't want to try to force anything.
Yeah.
So then when we got to Buenos Aires, it's about an hour drive by taxi
Okay.
to the
No, so
domestic.
no outfitter or PH to kind of meet you there?
Not yet. Yeah,
Right.
he arranges the taxi. He's
Oh, I
got
got you.
a friend who's a taxi driver. He arranges that, and then it's about an hour or so drive to the domestic airport. Then you get
Okay.
on a domestic flight, and you fly from there to Santa Rosa, Argentina.
Right. Okay.
So I decided I didn't want to do a dove hunt. I love hunting birds, but I didn't. That wasn't really what I wanted to go down there for.
Yeah.
So I booked it for a free range red stag hunt
Oh, nice.
and a black buck.
Hmm.
Were the top two on my list. And so when we got in Santa Rosa, the PH or the outfitter met us at the domestic airport and picked us up from there.
Okay.
And then we drove to his ranch. So he has it's 10,000 hectares.
That's nice. That's big.
So they also measure in hectares like they do in South Africa, not acres. So it's about 20,000 acres, give or take.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It
Um,
sounds right. That's a big property. That's a nice area. Oh,
Yeah, it's huge.
high fence or low?
Low fence. It was like 3, 4 strand barbed wire fences. That's it.
Wow. Damn. Okay.
Yeah. We never saw a high fence. It was all low fence, free range. There were times we would be pursuing an animal and it'd go over some fences and they're like, "Nope, we got to stop.
That's it.
That's somebody else's property."
Okay.
So there's no keeping them.
Yeah. Sure. That's pretty good. So I'd guess. I mean, I don't know if you chatted to the guys and you kind of picked up on these details. Do they tend to then have a similar kind of hunting model, conservation model, call it what you will, to South Africa? Or is it just a case of they might have a hunting season in Argentina, there is no high fences at all? Or did you guys just particularly hunt on this property that happened to be a low fence?
There are some ranches in Argentina that have high fence for some species like fallow deer,
Okay.
sometimes black buck. If they're growing red stag, they're trying to make kind of like New Zealand style red stags.
Hmm.
They'll have some high fence.
Yeah.
But I specifically wanted to go over there and get a free range red stag. I didn't want any high fences. So that's another reason why I went with this outfitter. And it was perfect. There were plenty of plenty of stag to look at.
Yeah.
Um, and you didn't really see the same two.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of
Very big property.
what sort of a terrain are we talking? Fairly mountainous, kind of hilly, flat, or what kind of areas were you guys walking in?
It's hilly. It's kind of like the hill country of Texas.
Gotcha.
Kind of those rolling hills. The grass is really tall,
Yeah.
probably anywhere from knee to waist height.
Okay.
The grass is super tall. They get a
Yeah.
lot of rain. There ain't a whole lot eating the grass there. Um, so it grows pretty tall. And their grass for some reason grows in clumps. So that makes it kind of challenging
Yeah.
hiking and stuff like that. You're always on the verge of rolling your ankle,
I bet.
especially if you don't have any good boots on.
Yeah, difficult. You gotta watch where you're walking while keeping your head up at the same time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of the terrain. It's they do have some thorny bushes and stuff like that. Some smaller trees. Their trees don't get very big there.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
they stay pretty low. But the weather was perfect. Uh, we got rained on a few times, usually in the evening.
Okay.
But other than that, the weather was perfect. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was a perfect scenario for what we were doing.
And then how does the PH, the guide, sort of conduct the hunt? So you guys driving around, getting up high, glassing, or is it a case of park up and just walk out and see what you guys can find? How did they kind of manage your guys' hunts?
Yeah, it's very much drive and then walk.
Okay.
There's You drive to a specific point and then you spend the rest of the day walking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's not a lot of driving around, looking around. Uh, it's best to go during the roaring season.
Hmm.
And so what we did, we would hike around and you would hear the stags roaring in the distance,
Oh, that's cool.
and we'd kind of judge where we're going to go from that, and then we'd start stalking towards whatever was roaring at the time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, getting close enough, get a look at him, and decide what we were going to do there. We did that numerous times.
And you said that you didn't see the same bull twice. Early on in your trip, was your guide and yourself, were you kind of looking over bulls and saying, that's not one I wanted? Or was it just a case of you just hadn't found the right one with all of those ones that you'd passed up on or ones that got away from you?
Yeah, I looked at a lot of bulls.
Hmm.
Obviously, there were some young ones, and there was just stuff that I didn't really want. I didn't want a super symmetrical stag.
Sure.
I wanted something a little different. I wanted I wanted a G4. I wanted the 4 tines on the top instead of the 3. I was
Okay.
a little picky on the type of stuff I wanted. And so yeah, we passed up on several bulls that just weren't what I wanted. They were
Yeah.
great bulls, some of them. I mean, you get young ones and stuff like that, but yeah, I was very picky on the bull I wanted.
And then obviously communicating with your PH at this time and relaying that to him and letting him know, this isn't a bull that I wanted. Um, was first of all, was his English, up to standard where you felt like you could really communicate? And I'm guessing he was obviously quite obliging if you said, look, this isn't the type of bull I'm looking for. Did you then notice that he was starting to try and work a bit harder for your specific bull? How did that sort of relationship and interaction plan out?
Yeah, so I'll start with the communication part. There's definitely a language barrier there.
Right.
They
Gotcha.
don't speak as good English as like you guys do in South Africa.
Hmm.
So there was some language barrier there. Luckily, I live in the southwest part of the United States, southern New Mexico, that area. So I knew some Spanish. I knew enough to get by.
Yeah.
Um, it's not a huge requirement. It just makes things a whole lot easier when you can relay certain keywords
Oh, I bet.
in their language and they understand what's going on. And moving past that, he was very accommodating and understanding on the type of animal I wanted.
Okay.
Uh,
Cool.
I, I didn't try to hide it or anything. I told him up front. He was like, "Great, we'll go look. You tell me yes or no. If you don't want it, we don't shoot it. We move on."
Nice.
And so he was very accommodating, very patient, and yeah, he put in the work to get me what I wanted.
Good. Good. Glad to hear it. So why don't you lead us into your first hunt with a stag? I'm presuming you got it.
Yes, yeah, I ended up with a 7x7
Oh, sweet.
uh, red stag. So it wasn't. It was probably the second day, I believe, or the third day that we shot him. And when we did, it was in the evening time, and we had been looking all day
Hmm.
at stags, and we'd see a bunch of hinds and stuff, and some bulls. And this bull, we didn't see him at first. It was a kind of a bigger herd. There were some younger bulls down in a valley, and we were just kind of standing in the brush listening.
Hmm.
And off to our left, we heard a stag start to roar. And we're like, well, let's go take a look at him. Let's see, he's over there. We've looked at this herd. ease over there and let's see what he looks like. So we did, and there was a brush line that we were standing in, and probably 100 yards past that, there was another brush line, and in between us was wide open. So we're
Right.
like, we're just gonna stay here, see where he moves, see if we can get eyes on him. Well, luckily he came through some brush, and I could see him with my binos through that brush, and he was working from our right to left, and I knew there was an opening coming up where we could get a shot option. So we set up on the sticks just in case he comes through. I look at him through the scope and I said, "Yeah, that's the one I want." So the PH was like, "Okay, take him whenever you're ready." So I shot him. Um, it was perfect, 100-yard shot
Oh, nice.
right on
100
his
yards.
left shoulder. Yeah. So we get him. He takes off a little bit, crosses a little ravine, and then he lays down in some super thick grass. And so that's where we ended up getting him, catching him up,
Okay.
and finishing him in the whole 9 yards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was perfect. But there was a storm rolling in that evening, and so we were kinda we were kinda rushing for time.
Yeah.
So we got some pictures, uh, did the whole picture thing, and then we loaded him up and brought him back to the lodge. And then we were able to set up at the lodge with some better lighting
Yeah.
before the storm got to us, and we got some better pictures there in the lawn at the lodge.
That's pretty cool. That's a nice hunt. And was there a lot of females hanging around? And was there also a lot of other animals hanging around that you guys always had to be careful of when you're stalking? Kind of like in South Africa, you got so many different species. Was it fairly similar that way? Or was it just predominantly a lot of stags for you?
It was predominantly a lot of stags, but there were a lot of females hanging around that you kind of had to watch,
Right.
because once the females take off, you're done. But there were times where we had to be careful of black buck in the area and watching us and stuff. But yeah, there's not an overabundant amount of species
Okay.
in Argentina.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
kind of limited on what you can hunt there.
But I mean, it
And
sounds like
so
good quality, at least good quality trophy animals that you're seeing this whole time, where you can definitely kind of pick and choose through them. And did you get the impression that obviously with it being low fence, free range, did you kind of notice on the animals were they pretty relaxed? Were they fairly flighty? Was there kind of a mood that you could pick up through the animals?
yes, for the stag, there was a mood of it's breeding time.
Oh, nice. Well, that's what you want, I
Very much
guess.
so.
Yeah.
Yes. And so there was even we were out in the open, and there was a young bull roaring, and he walked within probably 30, 40 yards from us,
Oh,
not
damn.
paying attention to anything.
That's pretty
He
cool.
was completely thinking with his other head. He was not
Yeah.
he was not worried about us one bit. And so, yeah, that was very much the mood for them at that time.
Right.
And that's mainly why we had to watch the hinds. The bulls weren't paying any attention to us.
Oh, a bit. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was the hinds that if we spooked a group of hinds, the bulls going with them, and
Okay.
we're done.
Yeah.
So that was the part we had to be careful about. The black buck are pretty flighty,
Yeah.
and they like to stay out in the open. They don't really get in the brush. So stalking them was a bit of a challenge, and they were longer shots.
Yeah, because they would be. I mean, I shot a black buck a couple of years ago here in Texas, and we've got them on the ranches, and you kind of see them daily. And I just get that feeling they're almost like springbok type of
Yes.
vibe. Yeah, they're very nervous, very flighty, and when they run, man, they send it. Um,
Oh
so it
yes,
must have been
very.
challenging for you guys.
Yeah, it was. We saw numerous black buck. And what was difficult too is if you stopped or if they saw you or anything like that, you had very little time to get a good look at them
Hmm.
to see
Okay.
what kind of animal we're looking at. So that was a bit of a challenge too. You were looking at them at a much further distance and trying to gauge horn length, spirals, thickness, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that part was challenging, and then the stalking was challenging.
Yeah.
Luckily, luckily it's pretty wet, so you don't make a lot of noise. There's not dead leaves or sand or any of that stuff like some parts
Okay.
of South Africa where
Yep.
you gotta kind of be mindful of where you're stepping. But that helped us a little bit, but it's just wide open. Very little brush where those guys are.
And what caliber are you shooting?
I used a 308 the whole time.
Oh, right. Okay. That a great caliber for that flat open range then, definitely.
Yeah, it worked out great. We used the outfitters' guns.
Hmm.
You can take guns to Argentina, obviously, but it's a bit of a challenge here in the more recent years. You have to go
Right.
through a taxation office and their police. So you have to go through two offices to try to get your gun imported and be able to use it. And it's just a bit of a hassle that I didn't want to deal with on the first trip.
Yeah, sounds like a lot more sort of paperwork and administration. Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the episode. Please excuse me while I interrupt it for just a quick 2 seconds. Now, for regular listeners of the podcast, you'll know that for well over 14 years, I was a hunting outfitter down in the Eastern Cape. I absolutely love that province. I wrote the song Eastern Cape Eden because I just wanted to try and portray how incredible that province is. The ray in the landscape, the vegetation, the animals, the terrain, the people. It's got absolutely everything. It really is a paradise on earth. As you know, I am no longer outfitting in South Africa, but what I have done is I've teamed up with a very, very good friend of mine. He runs an incredible hunting operation down in the Eastern Cape, and his setup is very similar to how I used to run things down with Kingsview Safaris. Very small, very personable, fantastic access to some of the incredible concessions of the Eastern Cape, a nice array of animals, and really, he does offer such an incredible experience. I've had a few guests on that I have referred to my buddy. They've come back and we've done a podcast episode so you can actually hear for yourself first-hand experiences of the guys that went out there, and they just had an absolutely fantastic time. So, if you are planning maybe your first trip to South Africa, maybe it's your second, maybe it's your third trip to South Africa, and you haven't quite been to the Eastern Cape and you really like to go and explore, experience it, and maybe there's a few animals you need to add to your trophy room that come from the Eastern Cape, then please feel free to reach out to me via email, jonomchugh@gmail.com. That's JONOMCHUGH@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and I'm certainly happy to point you in the direction of my good friend. And I know he'll be more than happy to expand on any details, any other questions you may have for him. If you've already got your trip booked up, that's all cool. Even if you want to maybe ask some questions, maybe I can give you some advice, some tips, some pointers, anything like that, I'm happy to do so too. You can send me an email. I'll respond maybe with my cell phone number, and we can have a chat on the phone. And I'm always interested to talk about hunting and help you guys out in the right direction. So yeah, anybody that's thinking about the Eastern Cape, please get a hold of me, and I'll most certainly point you to somebody that can give you an absolutely incredible experience. Okay, let's get back to that episode.
Yeah, and hold up. They like to hold you up at the airport. It takes a couple hours, they say. So
Yeah.
it wasn't,
Okay. We
especially
know.
when we're making a connecting flight to get onto a domestic flight while in country. You're kind of crunched on time.
Yeah, and they know that too. A lot of the times they know these
Yeah,
guys have got to make connecting flights, and they've got you. They got you by the short ones for sure.
they sure do. Yeah,
So this black buck, how did that all pan out?
the black buck. I was also a bit picky on that one. I
Hmm.
wanted that deep, dark black color
Yep. Yep.
mainly, and then some good spirals, obviously. So we during the hunt we looked at both stag and black buck at the same time. Whichever
Right.
one came first that we wanted is what we took. But I took my black buck second. My PH took his black buck first.
Okay.
It was kind of flip flop. And
All right.
so we saw these black buck, and we had actually stalked them for quite a ways. We spotted them early on, and they would run off. We'd try to get into some brush to cover ourselves. They'd settle down. We'd get a little closer. And that went on for quite some time. And then they ended up going down into a depression. And
Mm-hmm.
then that opened up into an open area. So we had the high ground to where we could hide a little better in that grass. And we got within about 200 yards, a little over 200 yards. And I made the decision that we're close enough. And that's the one I wanted, because they settled down and I finally got to get a good judge on them. And I said, okay, that's the one I want. So 200 yards, shoot him. And they're pretty tough animals. He took off running. He probably didn't go 100 yards and then laid in the grass,
Okay.
but his head was still up. So we knew he was still alert and aware. So
Mm-hmm.
we stalked up to him and we put another round in him and finished him. And so we were able to grab him. We carried him for quite a ways. Part of the reason was I went with an African PH,
Okay.
and y'all are picky about your pictures, right?
Sure are.
So where he was not picture worthy.
Gotcha.
So we carried him a little ways up on a hill, made a little clearing, and we got some photographs of him. But yeah, that's how that one went.
That's cool. That first shot, when you said he sort of ran a bit and didn't quite finish off, a touch high, a little further back. What happened there?
It was a little further. It was right behind his shoulder
Okay.
where it went in. It would have killed him
Sure.
inevitably.
Yeah.
I mean, he was dead already. He just didn't know it.
Mhm.
Um,
As you
but
say,
he was
though,
able to run.
as you say, super tough animals. And again, just to draw that comparison on the springbuck, once they see you and that adrenaline builds up into them, you shoot them,
Yeah.
they're dead, but their body's still going to run for a mile or so without even them realizing it. So yeah, super tough animals.
Yeah, and the amount of blood he was leaking out of him as he was running. I mean, I could see it through the scope after that first shot. I could
Right.
see the blood running down him. That's it.
Yeah, you knew.
So
Okay.
yeah, I knew. They're tough.
They
And that
are.
adrenaline kicks in, and they can cover some ground. They are some fast animals.
Hmm. Hmm. That's awesome. So stag and the black buck, was this all within what, 2-3 days of you arriving there?
Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay.
We did some predator hunting. So there's not very many natural predators in Argentina.
All right.
You have puma, the bigger cats, and then you have fox, and that's about it.
Interesting.
There's no other predators for some of these animals. So, and the pumas are protected.
Oh, right. Okay. I was going to ask.
You can't hunt them, right? So, but there were plenty of fox. There was a ton of fox.
Yeah.
So we got to shoot some fox. There's another little species there called a viscacha.
All right.
People will probably have to Google it, but I would call it a marsupial almost. But they like to dig. They're nocturnal,
Yes.
and they like to burrow and dig. But they're about maybe 2 footballs big
Mm-hmm.
and kind of shaped like 2 footballs. They're kind of oddly shaped. They got
Yeah.
a beard. They got like a big black beard that goes up on their jowls.
All right. Yeah.
They're super cool. So we shot a couple of those, and the PH, he was like, "Oh, these are delicious. We're gonna eat these. These are wonderful."
Mm-hmm.
Eh, I don't mind trying things,
Sure.
but looking at them, I was a bit skeptical.
Okay.
But they skinned them. We had them the next day, and it's a white meat, almost like chicken,
Right.
which,
Okay.
which was interesting to me. I was expecting like a darker red meat, being
Sure.
a burrower and stuff, scavenger type. But it was a white meat, and it was delicious. It was very good. It wasn't really gamey.
Yeah.
They prepared it in like a spaghetti,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and it was delicious. It was almost like eating chicken. It really
Okay.
was.
I got to Google this animal and find out what it looks like. Maybe with with me now doing this thing on YouTube, I can probably pop a picture of it or somewhere here so everyone can see. But that's fascinating.
I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, do it, please. Please do. I was going
Yeah.
to say, this is one of the joys of hunting, especially being able to travel all over the world, is you try new shit. You try the foods, experiences, cultures, whatever. So why not? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. So we shot some of those pigs. They have wild boar there to
Right.
hunt. Uh, buffalo. They have some sheep that they call like it's like a common sheep for them, Patagonian sheep,
Okay. Right.
um, and fallow deer, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are very few species in that country to hunt, big game wise.
Did you see buffalo while you were out there?
We did, yeah. Um, it wasn't on my list. It wasn't on the top of my list yet, but we did. We were able to look at quite a few buffalo,
Okay.
and they're like almost like an Asiatic water buffalo.
Yeah, and their horns tend to be kind of a little bit straighter and then kick up as opposed to more of a swoop of the Cape
Right,
buffalo. Hey,
right, yeah, and not as long as like a Australian water buffalo.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, they're super thick, but they're not very long.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're a very cool animal. They kind of have that stance like a Cape buffalo. When you're
Sure.
looking at them, they kind of have that stare and that look to them,
Yeah.
but they're not near as ornery as Cape buffalo are.
True.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. Obviously, I don't really know too much about Argentina. Never been there myself, but as a South African, the only real connection we have is that they developed one hell of a rugby team. Rugby is pretty big in Argentina, and there's been some good battles between the South African Springboks and the Argentinian Pumas over the years, and they're phenomenal. But another sort of thing that the Argentinians tend to try and throw over us South Africans is their quality beef, and they say that their meat that side is 10 times better than what we have in South Africa. So I want to hear from you. Did you manage to taste some good quality meats and beef cuts over there?
Yeah, so their diet is a lot like y'all's in South Africa. They eat a lot of meat,
Right.
almost
Okay. That explains it.
entirely. Their diet is almost entirely meat. And so, yeah, we ate all kinds of meat, and all of it was good. We didn't have any that we didn't like. We had, beef, lamb, wild boar, red stag, black
Oh,
buck.
that's cool.
Yeah, we had it all, and it was great. It was fantastic. They do a good job, and that country is very much agricultural.
Okay.
Um, Having driven some of it, because when we went back to the States, we had to drive from Santa Rosa to Buenos Aires.
All
So it's
right.
like a 6, 7 hour drive. It's a long drive, 8 hour drive, something like that.
Yeah,
And
but
so
a
we got
good,
to see quite a bit of, yeah, we got to see quite a bit of the country, and it's very
yeah,
much agricultural. They're fond of their crops and their cattle and stuff like that. So they take
that's
pride
cool.
in it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. As I said, I know that the Argentinians are very sort of proud of their beef industry and what they produce. So it's nice to hear that you really enjoyed it. And sounds like the guys took good care of you, obviously with the lodge and the way that they handled your trophies. You confident that are you going to have your stuff done in Argentina? I don't know if that's an option, or are you just going to get it shipped back to the States?
So there is an Argentinian option, but this outfitter and others I've talked to don't recommend getting your stuff done in Argentina.
Interesting.
Them themselves tell you up front, you probably don't want to do your stuff here in Argentina,
That's
because
interesting.
there's been like a big case with a taxidermist there where he was stealing people's mounts and they never got them. Um, just not good quality work.
Hmm.
I think some of that has to do with the exchange rate there, and that was
Okay.
something I was kind of surprised about. But getting back to the point, no, we're gonna have them shipped. They prepare the trophies there, much like y'all do in South Africa. They have
Hmm.
skinning sheds, salts, the whole 9 yards. And then I'll have them shipped to the States and have the trophies done here in the States.
Okay, that's interesting. It's fascinating when outfitters try and recommend taxidermists to hunters, you're kind of always a little bit skeptical, and you think, are they getting the backhand? Are they getting commission? Do I need to go and check on their work? But as soon as an outfitter says, no, just take them back to the States, everyone just says straight away, sure, do it. You
Yep.
don't question it, but you take it back. So that's actually really interesting. And if anything, kudos to those guys for being honest and straight up with you.
Yeah. Yeah. This outfitter was very straight up, honest through the whole process. There was no surprises. There was no hidden fees. There was no, at the end of the hunt, you got to pay for this or that. None of
Nice.
that.
That's good.
It was a very enjoyable experience going there.
It sounds like it, man. And like I said, I'm glad you came back on for part two, because I was really interested to hear about the Argentina trip. And as I said, there just seems to be, I don't know about a transition, but there is definitely that link where people will come to Africa maybe 2-3 times, and then they do start to look at places like Argentina. And I don't want to say it's underrated, because I've met so many people that have gone to Argentina, and I think it's pretty safe to say, and let me know if you agree with this or not, that Argentina can be up there as one of the top leading places to go for a really good, exciting hunt.
Yeah, it's a great country to visit. Where we were, there was, like I said, the weather was perfect. The terrain was wonderful. The people there, they take really good care of you. The food's great. The accommodations were great. I looked it up before going, but even they have safe water there. You don't have to worry about drinking the water there.
Right.
That's recommended by the United States. The United States says that they have clean water there, so it's it's really very pleasant to go down there. Uh, I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Well,
The the exchange rate is a bit different. I think South Africa is about 15-1 right now,
mhm, mhm.
somewhere
Right
in
there.
there. There in Argentina, in Argentinian pesos, it's 1,500-1.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it is insane. It's a very poor country.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. And if my politics is correct, I think it's their current president has, his name eludes me at the moment, um, but from what I've heard, he's brought their economy back on track. He's brought inflation down, and he's definitely reduced that exchange rate. So even with all those good things, you still say that the exchange rate is really high at the moment.
Yeah, it is. I guess he has done some good things for them. But yeah, that exchange rate is crazy. And just seeing the architecture and the roadway, I mean, all the places we were, I mean, you could tell it's a struggling country,
Sure. Yeah.
but it never felt like it was an unsafe country.
Okay. That's good to
We never
hear.
got that vibe. Like, yes, it's a poor country, but it didn't feel like a third world unsafe
Yeah.
type country. We felt very safe. Um, Even on the flights, the domestic airport, all of it. It never gave off that vibe that
Okay.
this was an unsafe place.
That's good to hear. And I mean, I'm sure as you well know, and obviously preaching to the choir here, one of the things that hunting can definitely do to benefit an area is a lot of those rural, poorer areas for sure. So I don't know, long may it continue. And sounds like you had an incredible trip. I'm going to have to try and put some cash away under the pillow and hopefully go and visit that country one day myself.
Yeah, yeah, do it. It's great, and it's not as expensive as you think. It wasn't that bad. It's cheaper than a trip to Africa sometimes.
Well, listen, it sounds
But
like you're not stopping there. I think you got your next trip to Africa is what, in a couple of weeks or a month or two, isn't it?
yeah, the end of June we'll be back.
Wow, man.
So yeah, th- those flights now
Oh,
they sting a little right
yep.
now.
I'm sure they do.
For one, they I believe lifted it by now, but they're not allowing a whole lot of flights to go into Doha.
Okay.
So that takes away one avenue.
Yes, it does.
So now you got basically France or London, or try to do a direct flight.
hmm hmm
And they're capitalizing on that right now.
Well, look, there is one important thing that I'd definitely point out, and obviously the time of recording this is what, about the 14th of May. My in-laws are coming to visit us from South Africa, and they're landing in Dallas in about 2 weeks' time. Their biggest issue has been a lot of the internal flights in South Africa, with just canceling, with airlines saying they've got to cancel this flight, they don't have jet fuel, whatever reasons, it's too expensive. So for those listening, what I would say is kind of keep your finger on the pulse for a lot of the internal flights too, in not only South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, wherever it may be, because it seems to me like a lot of those flights are the first ones that tend to get cancelled. So yeah, man, you're right. With everything that's going on at the moment, it's expensive, and it can change at any minute, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough right now, but I would just tell people, don't give up hope. I mean, if you got a trip and you can afford it, just go ahead and go. Don't don't put it off just because this is going on. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah, we had COVID not too long ago,
That's right.
and some outfitters are still feeling the come up from that. They don't want another fall off just
True.
because, all this stuff is going on and people are starting to cancel their trips over there, and then,
Yeah.
outfitters start struggling again.
Yeah, that's good words. Good words to definitely encourage a lot of the people to keep going. With your trip, are you heading back, same outfitter, heading back to the same areas, or are you going to try hunt a different area?
Same outfitter. I'm gonna go with the same pH,
Cool.
but it's gonna be in a different area.
Okay.
We're gonna go around Hoodsprit area,
Beautiful. Nice
maybe
area.
maybe towards the Free State.
hmm
But spotted hyena is on the top of the list on this one.
Wow. Then we're going to have a Cody part 3 recording sometime when you get back. You're going to be almost a co-host of the podcast at this rate.
Yeah, we'll have to come back on and tell you about that one.
Oh,
But
I'd
yeah,
love to, man. You open invitation, always welcome.
yeah, we're
Well,
going
look,
back. My PH is having his first baby, and so we're going around that time and
well,
hunt around where he
congratulations.
lives and give him a little time off to be with the baby and just kind of make a holiday of it. But
Yeah.
we're definitely going to kill some stuff.
That's fantastic, man. Congratulations to the PH. I remember when my daughter was born, I'd trying to juggle hunting, being there for the birth. And I got so many trophy photos, one particular of me standing behind a massive kudu bull shot to the client, holding my daughter in my arms. And she loves it. So yeah, congratulations to him, and don't stop hunting just because you got kids. If anything, you got to keep doing it more.
Yeah, no
Um,
kidding.
Listen, Cody, I know you actually drove quite a ways, and to try and make this podcast, I don't want to keep you too long. I just want to say, man, that sounds like you've been having a hell of a hunting trip lately, and long may it continue. And as I said, you are always welcome back for some more.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and I love sharing the stories. So as long as people are going to listen to them, I'll share them.
Hey, even if the people don't, I always will. You're always going to have one listener
Yeah,
here on this podcast. That's one thing I can be sure of. There's going to be one listener.
there you go.
Um,
Exactly.
Cody, dude, thank you very much once again. And please send me photos of that elephant replica. I'm really intrigued by that. It sounds like it's going to turn out to be a really cool mount.
I will. Yes, sir. It's great to talk to you again, Jonah. I appreciate it.
Cool, man. All right, you take care.